Yeah, we are. And Adrian, hi, bud.
Hey, David, nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's um, I don't have a much of a social life. This is a bit has become a bit social recently, talking to friends and so it's um, kind of be fun to hear what you're doing and how your life's going and I know that you've stayed really busy this last year, haven't you?
Yes, it to my big surprise, of course, being, you know, with the first lockdown making waves towards a very slow year, but then I guess creativity took over and then things got busy in a whole different new way in terms of my business to
Yes.
sustain it and to thrive, help it thrive. So that's been very successful, and but with it comes a lot of busyness.
Have you been? Did, has some of it been online?
Yes, but that was mostly in the summer, uh,
Yes.
towards the fall, and then online died off.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like, you yourself were really an early inspiration also, and an early, like you knew right away that the mask making thing would be a thing, and you were cutting and sewing yourself, I think, or doing some of that anyways, some
a
involved.
little bit. I played in it. I thought this is going to be it for sure because, like you and I've traveled Asia, and we know, you
Right,
know, that
right.
it's just common sense
Yeah.
um, so.
and
But
and so for us, like, it was just such a natural fit, and then, and once the ball even rolls a little bit, it's the success or the failure that either stops it or keeps it rolling. And in our case, it just kept rolling and rolling, and got bigger and bigger. And so, in in retrospect now, after we lost the festival business, basically the festival possibility, which was a huge amount of our business, it was then masks that became our pillar this summer and fall and winter. And and so, I sometimes say, whatever for the business COVID took away, it also gave back at the same time.
nice. So you manufactured locally as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
brought some in from
And
the
yeah.
Thailand and
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 we've been manufacturing ever since April.
wow.
And all of us have cut, like, I do all the cutting for ours. And, Brittany, who's the business manager, she is an avid sewer now. And we've got kind of pulling from all the resources. All our staff actually pretty much have learned how to sew, and at times can do it or have done it and contributed to that project. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So would you, this is kind of just a practical, but I'm interested, would you be selling North America wide? Uh,
Through the online, yes. So we
wow.
send lots of them, and this has been really my most favorite part of, having suddenly this online presence via Etsy. So not through our website, because that would not have nearly the exposure, but Etsy gave us all the exposure. And to be able to send these masks to all the states and all the provinces, and connecting with this bigger field has been really, really neat. Yeah,
Fun.
my favorite aspect.
So on Etsy, when we get finished, I'd love to have the link. I want to put it on this, so people can see
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's we have a lot of them on there, and we just listed all the ones we make here in Calgary. We have we we have about over 300 different fabrics, that we make ourselves. So you know it just bubbled. It's like, and that was just Etsy on my phone. That was just an order coming in. So Etsy has this really seductive ring. It's in ching ching, making
I
money.
heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the very clever on their end to keep you motivated, because you want to hear that ring.
Yes.
Um, so, but of course, in the mask field, like so many people entered that field that it became, to stay visible there became increasingly difficult. Basically, you're shooting to have one of your products become a bestseller. And if it's a bestseller, Etsy will prioritize it a lot in how many people get to see it. And then you can do some advertising, which is also worth it if it's desirable enough and people don't just click on it, but also buy it to help you
Yes.
become a bestseller.
Yes. So did yours become a bestseller?
We had about 7 bestsellers, and those were basically, I like the farm analogies. Those were the high producing cows in your barn, those are the ones that gave milk, and kept the
Every
thing
day.
going. Yeah.
Nice.
But then as the mask field became increasingly crowded, particularly by, now all the retailers, brick and mortar retailers catching up on that, including, like Canadian Tire and Shoppers Drug Mart and all that, which I expected and anticipated. As they caught up, then, the novelty of searching on Etsy decreased, and you'd rather buy it again, partially by just looking at it and seeing one. And then price, of course, comes into it, because now you get, ironically, also China got to double dip in the sense that, they brought the problem by having this virus, and then they got to provide the solution via the mask. So in a way, they kind of ruined our retail business. No, I'm not saying they did this purposely, but I'm just saying it's like, it's interesting to watch how China quickly fills up any kind of void in terms of their ability to produce cheaply and fast and actually really good quality. And so that's, as small retailers, of course, that's what you can't avoid as a small retailer, is to have that competition. So you have to do it in a different way. For example, we really listened to our customers and really took all their feedback into consideration of how we're constructing our masks and what features they want and so on. And I have to say, a lot of them would express that they prefer to support locally.
Yes, of course.
Rather than looking at like, wow, it's similar to like a lot of people realizing it's like, yeah, during the lockdowns, the big businesses like Costco and Walmart are thriving. They're really thriving because it's the only place to go. And then the small businesses we're not, we don't have infections in our little stores,
No.
but we had to shut down, it's like, why, of course, these decisions are made by non-business people,
Yes.
by administrators. They have never been in the reality of it, and so they can believe their thoughts. They can say that's a good idea and believe it, and minimize reality in a way. I mean,
Yes.
the premier of Alberta, when I heard him talk, when there was a lot of pressure for him to do another lockdown in November, I think, I heard he said he apologized to small businesses for shutting them down fully.
Yes.
And in some other areas, he did it anyways,
Yeah.
But that's not just him. That is pressure. There's a lot of pressure. But then when you look at where the majority of infections is happening, it's not in those environments.
No. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I would have to agree with you that it's not in a small shop. Do you still have a small shop in Red Deer?
Yes.
Nice.
It's been really great. And we are still at the Crossroads market as well. And we still have a little warehouse store in Northeast.
So you moved inside at Crossroads?
Yeah, it was really amazing. As I saw that we were doing really well, and our staff there, Brianne, she really would have liked to keep her job. And I was like, well, definitely, I'd love you to be able to keep doing this. But of course, winter was coming, end of October, and I talked to the management at Crossroads, who I love, by the way. I think these are outstanding people at Crossroads.
The brothers too.
They're all fantastic. They just have such a good attitude, like such a.
I knew their dad.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for years at Crossroads was over off 16th Avenue before,
Yes, when it was still up on 16th. Yeah.
yeah, and then,
So they said, oh, we have actually a waiting list, and we have no room.
yeah,
So, well, I guess that will spell the end of it. And then literally the last of October, I said, hey, it's getting too cold. We're freezing. We're not going to do the whole weekend outdoor, even though, we just can't. It's too cold now. And she says, well, we have a free spot on the inside. And
no
so,
way.
just that weekend, that following weekend, it would be free, and we were able to move in. Yeah.
Oh, timing. So somebody left and you just happened to be available,
And it was actually a guy who was selling masks that was leaving.
oh,
And
wow.
we got the same spot, so it helped, Yeah.
The flow.
The flow, yeah, it was just that really nice flow that
Adrian in the
you
flow.
you don't have to worry. What's that?
Adrian in the flow.
Yes. Lots of things happen in the flow.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just, again and again realized that, I have to step out of the way. Step out of the way, David. Allow the flow. Be in the flow. And
Be in the flow. I think you're not even allowing the flow.
yeah, just well, no, you're right. Not allow the flow. What I've done, I think a lot of times in my life, I've been in the flow, but lots of times I've had my own ideas.
Right.
And so it wasn't that I didn't allow it, I just didn't pay attention to it.
Right.
I went the other way, or I had something else driving me, and
Yeah.
sometimes it was fear,
Right. But
and
the reason I said that, why I said not to allow the flow?
mhm.
You know why I say that?
Share with us, please.
Because when I think I'm going to allow the flow,
Yes,
comes from the same being that is not in the flow.
that's right. Yes, yeah.
Right? It's like as if I, the one who's stuck, has to give permission to that which naturally is.
Oh, I
So
have to get out of the
from the
road.
same place, oh, I'm going to allow the flow. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how are you going to do that? The flow is just the flow. Just be in it.
Be in it. Just say yes.
Just say yes. Otherwise, it can be quite a trip, and it's like it becomes like a constant needing to. Oh, I gotta allow this. It's like, well, that's a lot of work, and it probably won't work.
I was talking with Alice the other day. Alice Hung, and did one
Mm-hmm.
of these interviews, and she said that she'd been very gifted through her life on being able to see the open doors,
Right.
and which is another way of being in the flow. I think
Right. Yeah, you naturally gravitate to that open door rather than trying to knock down the closed one.
I've banged on a lot of closed ones in my life.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're not finding yourself in that position anymore.
No, it's interesting. I had a fellow just the other day asked me if I wanted to come and visit him in Maui, and I sat with it for a while, and I was thinking, and I watched the thought come up that, well, David, you shouldn't have to spend the whole winter in cold Calgary. Yes, go to Maui, which was not appreciating the opportunity. It was from another place,
Right, I understand.
Yeah, it was like from a place of dissatisfaction, if you will, or so I sat with it and I thought, well, and then what came was to just sit with it and see if what life wants,
Very good.
what the universe wants, and if it's appropriate, it'll knock again. It'll, because when he first said, come on, I got a big house, and there's lots of space, and come stay for a couple of weeks or whatever, and I was like, it brought up an old piece of me that was like, almost going to grasp at the opportunity too,
Right.
And as opposed to pausing,
Mm-hmm.
and so not saying no,
Mm-hmm.
and not saying, oh yeah,
Just feeling it out.
yes, just to allow,
Yeah.
or allow, I guess, allow
Allow
my,
some space around it rather than clinging
yes,
already to something you've already made your mind up just because he said that, and this old piece comes up and says, yeah, 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 I don't need to suffer through this winter, which is already premised on the old understanding as well, because it doesn't have to be suffering, no?
no, I'm, you know, enjoying every minute of it,
Right, right.
I look at this year, people, I've talked to lots of folks who have some complaint about 2020, and I think the best year of my life,
Right, right, right,
if
right.
there's such a thing, and anyway,
No, I believe it. I mean, I've observed you also in 2020, and seeing really, like, what I'm seeing from you is now kind of an unwavering steadiness in what you're discovering. You're not all over the place or anything, with it.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm still, every day spending time with our buddy, uh, like
Right.
literally every day,
Yeah, yeah,
and it just goes deeper, and this, when the struggle comes, it's not a struggle. It's like, oh, there's more stuff bubbling up.
hmm
There is stuff bubbling up, and I think that's just fine.
that's
Just
par for the course. Yeah.
it's par for the course, and the witness is so there, quite quickly, and not to shut it down, just to be with it, and
Yes, yes.
whatever's happening, and not to make it wrong, just to be with, okay, so look at this, so to be with awareness.
Right.
um so
Yeah.
it's and it's interesting to watch the mind thinking, so where are we going? What does this mean?
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that's also a little bit of the trap sometimes of, like, the whole, like, the approach to spirituality that comes maybe more through the idea of, like, manifesting one's own life and so on. And, similar to, like, the idea of allowing the flow, because if I allow the flow, I can manifest the life I want. And things like these kind of ideas can be very strong because one desires for, a happy, harmonious life and so on. But again, that's not exactly surrender. That is kind of like, you used that word planning the other day when we had a quick chat about planning tomorrow, and it's like, but this is kind of like, let me script God's plan and then hopefully email it to him tomorrow so that he knows exactly what it is that I have planned out for myself for this lifetime, and so that I can manifest it and that he will fulfill it, if God is your reference point, or you can say the universe or whatever you're using as your reference point, rather than going like, oh, no, no, I'll be just present to what is now, and my own inner being, and the inner being, so to say, and then see what happens, also without so much attachment and desire and attempts to control and attempts to manipulate and so on.
Yeah,
It's kind of like that more surrendered type
yeah,
attitude.
yeah, letting go, and
Letting go, more the letting go.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it so, and watching um a lifetime of wanting to control.
Okay, true, but when you really let go,
Hmm.
it could have been 20 lifetimes,
Yeah, of course.
and
It
it doesn't
doesn't.
matter.
No, I
So
guess
almost like
just a reference, but
but
yes.
I'm saying don't use that reference point too much,
Okay.
because it makes it real again in this moment, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so careful with the keep referring back to, you know, the, almost as if the whole lifetime of not letting go is doing any service to now letting go, or that that contrast is important. It's not actually. It's more important that it's done thoroughly, as thoroughly as it can be in this moment, without making stories up about even the past in a way. And even that self-definition that one certainly was there in the past. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because otherwise it does create, in my view anyways, it creates too much of a dichotomy as to like the past and then what I'm becoming, and the past and what I'm becoming. And so I'm constantly in the becoming, because I keep looking past, and then I also look at the future and say, well, who will I be tomorrow? But neither of that one is being now.
Mhm.
And even if it seems like that, just observing the tendency to do that is another way to realize that that is also just a construct in a way.
Just, yeah, observing is then being here now.
Yes, rather than saying, oh, let's be here now. Let's say, like, I'll just use an example. I'll say to you, David, let's be here now. Okay. And then I say, but in the past, I was never being here now. But then I'm not here being here now either, because right now I'm back in the past.
Yeah.
See?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so then it kind of like the first sentence is completely belied by what I'm actually embracing, even as I become conscious of being here now. And particularly like when I speak to people, usually what often happens when I talk to people, they go, give me some advice right now that I can apply tomorrow. And I'm like, if I give you some advice right now, for one, by tomorrow you'll have forgotten it, or you'll have shaped it into that which your mind allows it to be. Meaning it may not even really be the essence of what was being shared. So then how about right now? So for example, if you say, Adrian, give me a tool to face my fears. Yes? Say, what fear is it? Okay, this fear. Okay. So I can give you the tool, and then by yourself tomorrow, you think you will do it and face that fear. When you have me right now here as your friend to say, I'm right with you. I'm right with you, and we can do this right now. And this is where I kind of find that sense of being here now is so important. It's like, don't speculate about the future or regurgitate the past, but actually speak of what's going on right now.
Yes.
And let's face it, in this case, if you happen to have company of someone who's into this kind of thing, then let's do it together. And really take a look together, see what is running the show. And typically what it is, it's actually the mind, the psychological mind, the more fearful, the fear-based mind, that is still in some way running the show, and has also kind of cloaked itself with understanding. But that same mind in some instance will say, oh yeah, I'm facing all my fears. Like, good. but 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 if that wasn't the case, then what would your fear be that you're not facing, so to say? And is that something you want to look at right now, because that's the only time you really can do it like that? And so I don't know, I mean, you're supporting a lot of beings, and you have your own way to access or remember being in the moment with them, no?
It's amazing, actually, the amount of people that are coming. Yes, and often because many of them are in the 12-step world.
Right.
I mean, all I do is bring them into the moment.
Right.
Here, because there's no. I'm not in the business of selling a belief, because, like you say, the belief is not about now. It's about tomorrow, or
Right.
so what I am doing is just exactly what you did right now, and sometimes there's one thing to talk about now, and but in some ways I plant the seed of now as well, that in this moment is where all the action is. In this moment is where the power is. In
Right.
this moment there's no fear.
Right.
In this moment, there's no anger, there's no uh, concern, there's bliss in this moment, and so that's part of the conversation often, because um, most of the folks I work with have this idea that God is something separate,
Right.
and that they have to earn the right to be associated with or something, or
Oh,
work
I
their
see.
way
I see. I see.
work
Yeah,
their way
they've
to
already
that.
so far failed that they're kind of on their own now, anyways.
And a lot of times the folks are carrying what I call a Sunday school concept of 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 God, of universal intelligence, and no matter what the concept is, it's separate, and and of course there's no way in that idea, that construct, to connect or be one with that in the construct. It's only here now,
Right.
and and in practicing that with awareness, so when fear comes in the 12 step world, we have a prayer, and prayer, I believe, is kind of like the ticket, the train we ride into the moment. When I say, God, take away my fear, show me what you have me to be, I become present. I'm not in the fear anymore. I'm asking the moment, to, and then it just melts, and but it's not magic. It's actually, the prayer brings me present.
Right. Right. Right.
And the same with anger. We have a little prayer that says, God, save me from being angry. Show me how I can be helpful in this moment. And again, that it's kind of like a ticket to the moment.
Gotcha. And I guess even the awareness and the willingness to be aware that this anger is happening, and then instead of playing it out, and because it kind of feels itself anyways,
Yeah.
but
For
actually
most of the
acting on.
guys I'm talking with, or women or men that I'm talking with, they have to have reached some frustration with that, with living in anger or living in fear, where they're saying, like, fuck, I'm done with that,
Yeah,
uh, and
it's not
and
what
uh,
you really want.
and they can be done with it, but without a bit of a, support in it, in the form of a bit of a technique. How do I get to this moment? How do I because we can't think our way out of it,
Yes, 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 yes.
and we can't wish our way out of it, can't affirmation our way out of it. you know but we I um a lot of times people, and I had too. I was brought up in a Christian environment where my prayers were to something out there,
Right.
and it's really only in the last while that I've realized that what prayer does is it brings me into now, you
Right.
know, and so and not in a, like I'm not like I'm asking for something really. It's just it brings me into now, and into my natural state. Um, um, Hawkins, spoke a lot about, as we let go of guilt, shame, fear, anger, desire, we literally move into our natural state, which is this, you know, nowness. This not that David becomes divine. It's just that we realize that we are, and that is our natural state of unconditional love and nowness.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, so it's pretty sweet. There's actually nothing to it. you know, it and but we've built a lot of structures around this thing, which is being who we are, you know.
Yeah, because I guess really to that structure which you're referring to, which would be our mind and sensations, so feelings and mind and psychological mind, to that, to say to be that which you really are doesn't really connect.
No, because it's interesting, and
Like the unknown. It's like this is like the promise. When you're saying that to somebody, they may say, I am who I am and I'm freaking angry. Like, what do you even mean? Like, it's like it seems like a bit abstract, no?
it is. And Hawkins, said the eye cannot see the eye, which is a, and Musi says the knife cannot cut the knife, and the scale cannot weigh the scale, and and
Right.
and so it is a bit abstract in a way. And if we try to go there with the mind, then there's no way to go past.
It becomes a riddle. It becomes some kind of mind
Yeah.
screwball thing that you cannot capture. And
Yes.
so I think that sort of capacity to observe is kind of the first step to notice that thinking and oneself aren't identical.
Yeah.
Body and myself, like everything I refer to as an other, like my brain, my mind, my body, I refer to as an other.
Hmm.
And so then, but what I never look back to is when I say the I part of this, my body, the I, I may say, oh, you mean my soul. But then I'm still saying me and this soul that is mine.
Yeah.
So to whom does it really belong? And that's when it gets a bit tough for the mind, because here it cannot use its usual faculties anymore to really go deeper in terms of its analysis and thinking. So that's kind of then when it has to be more sensed. It's like a more of a sense of like, yeah, that seems about right, because this I that I am, how do I, like, let see if I can find it, like, is there a little Adrian living inside of me, kind of like the little man behind the curtain thing, and if I only could uncover that, here it'd be ta-da, I'm the one who has been, or someone said, one of my teachers said, like, is there a little tree inside the tree, or is the tree just a tree, and 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 so it's like, well, then let me find this little man inside of me that always keeps referring to myself, but does not claim to be the body, does not claim to be the mind, because I don't say I mind, I body. If I said I body, I'm going to go home, then I would just say I identical as body is going home. But something is intuited and known that that's not so. And I
Hmm.
think that's where the separation from the identity with mind starts to show some space and say, oh
Hmm.
yeah, I can observe all my feelings, I can observe all my thoughts. So who is observing? If and then the mind says, well, that's just another thought, and then it's like, but that's also observed, and it doesn't feel right to say it's another thought, because the observing space actually is not full like the mind. It's a more empty space in which then this mind appears.
One of the what comes for me is the stillness.
Hmm.
The emptiness, yes, but there's a sense of stillness that
Yes.
I never really experienced before this last year. Just and 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 a calmness around not needing to know,
Yes.
which is you know um, and also an acceptance that there isn't language to speak about it,
Yes.
and so um, letting go of the need to speak of it um, is a gift, really.
Mhm.
It's a
Well,
um,
particularly if when it is seen that and I'm not saying this is applying for you, but that this can easily apply, sometimes at least, for many anyways, would be then the immediate recognition that as soon as an attempt is made to speak about it, there is no longer an identity with it. So then the attempt is to go into a person and now speak about a past experience. So it would be like me saying, so a moment ago I was really one with myself. And it's like, well, what about right now? Let me check. Oh, I have nothing to say now. Like this.
Yes.
And then this desire comes, it's like, oh, I need to share this with David, what just happened, And it's like, oh, but now that I want to share this, I'm no longer present with it or as it. And I think that's, for example, with Muji, who you listen to now a lot, that's one of his primary advice when, let's say, he has someone who stands in front of him and it comes to a deep seeing. He says, now stay quiet. Because if you give this to your mind, meaning if you let your mind have its way with it and you're taking personal credit for it, so to say, or your mind now says, that's what I've been searching for, it's no longer what you were searching for. The mind has just kind of appropriated this clarity and now wants to lay claim on it. And in doing that, then creates that separation again from that clarity.
Yes. Yeah. So there we are.
Yeah, so it's a real it's like, I think what you're doing, like, saying that maybe mostly these kind of conversations are your current social environment, so to say. I think, like, when I talk to beings, and then they're like really lost in their mind and they feel like life becomes quite unbearable. I know you meet those beings a lot as well. There has to be some willingness to stay with oneself, which is sometimes tough to tell people. And COVID has kind of forced it upon a lot of people. And I don't see that as necessarily a negative, but it can also bring up, some people can't handle it. And then
I had a friend last week take his life.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
And, actually a young man that you may have even met. He'd been to many of our meditation groups for a year and a half. And I've known him, for a long time in the 12-step world as well. And it's, that's kind of the extreme when we've got to that place where the mind has totally taken the scene, whatever the scene is, and painted it in such a way that it looks more than hopeless,
Yeah.
And,
Or the pain is so strong that the desire it becomes so strong to end that pain, so that seems like the only viable option.
I've been doing some a couple of my talks in the morning about culturally there's a lot of shame around suicide. Families don't talk about it. There's just my hope is to make it a bit more of a conversation, that it isn't to be hidden, that it's why hide the whole thing. And we even when somebody's obituary, we never use the word suicide. We say he died suddenly, and there's a it's a big cultural secret, and I'd like to shine more light on it. And in just so that, because I think what happens is that when one of us gets to that place where we're like, it seems like the only viable option, shame is one of the reasons we don't reach out. um, and I mean, I've had times in my 40 years of what I'll call spiritual seeking, when I'm going through really tough stuff, and the first thing mind says is, well, you've been doing all this work, you shouldn't be feeling this. So it almost shames me into not wanting to reach out or ask for for somebody's perspective, or somebody to be a listener. And I think that shame around that one topic is culturally quite prevalent, and
I think that's true, but I think that the shame arises way before even one becomes suicidal, let's say.
well, yes.
Because at that stage, when you've already seriously contemplating it, there is already many layers of fear that have prevented you from really stepping into support, receiving support, and
Yeah,
also maybe whatever other factors are, like facing fears and so on and so on. So I think um, by the time you know this, let's say this, when I see, let's say, a suicide attempt, I hear, oh, they made a suicide attempt, or they really were close in their mind, they're like, I think that's it. um you know something something in them must stir enough to want to receive help to come out of this on the living side of things,
yes,
rather than just postponing, and going back to the same
yeah,
thoughts and the same sort of environment and all of that stuff. And of course, that is tough, because at that point you're really on a very low point,
you're vibrating at about 100. you know
yeah. So then you it's and so then the lack of preparation, let's say, like maybe your constant refusal to have deeper talks, or your constant refusal to open up and so on, which is also then a long-standing pattern, or
yes,
constant escaping from your feelings,
yeah,
via maybe intoxicants and so on. That pattern is not just going to reverse just because you've come close to killing yourself in an active way, because the suicide in a way has started already then.
yeah. And I mean, I'm not suggesting that that something will shift.
Right.
And maybe you know of course I don't want to make it wrong either. Whatever somebody's journey is their journey.
Right.
And so I, to watch for me, if when I have judgment on, say, on my friend, well, why the hell didn't he call me, or why didn't he reach out, or I'm not his closest friend for sure, but so just to be with it with compassion and acceptance, and to shine the light on it, so that there is a road out. you know there's no question it's difficult. This last week, I've talked to at least 3 other people who this in the last couple of weeks have been suicidal. you
Right.
know and I think there's a bit of a cloud happening.
It is. Last Monday, I think it was. It's the bluest Monday, the bluest day of the year.
I heard, was that the third Monday of the month, I
Yeah,
guess,
something like that. Yeah.
and of January, and
Yeah.
and ah, you know,
And it totally makes sense, because environmentally we're lacking sunshine or light, like
yes,
long daylight. Energetically, we have, especially this year, we have COVID, but normally we just have cold. We have the post-Christmas hangover. It ramps up towards Christmas and so on, and then after that, suddenly you're far from spring, and you're far from, the good times of Christmas. And then this year people kind of got ripped off because,
Yeah, they didn't have the good times of Christmas. Yeah.
other people got saved, it
Yeah.
depends on your situation. For
Yeah.
some people, I'm sure it was like the excuse that they've looked for forever to not have to put themselves in an environment that's not as pleasant as others have it during
Yes.
Christmas. So, they could be by themselves and have peace or something. But so it just depends on the circumstances. But yeah, so it makes sense that becomes a really dark time before kind of the sun comes higher on the horizon,
Mhm.
and life comes back into trees and grass, and snow melts and it warms up and all of that
So
stuff.
you, I mean, you've spent years, honing the skills of helping others. And are people coming? Are you
Yeah, yeah.
doing the work?
Hey, people, like, I find out about someone from someone else, and
Hmm.
that needs to talk or whatever.
So good. I mean, because I think that it's we all will, I guess, give our gift when it's our time, and um, I just know that you have a lot to share with people that might be, um, I mean, not for me to say, but yeah, you have lots to give.
I
And
mean, very, very happy to support, like, definitely, like, I'll drop everything to support somebody if that's what they're needing. And you know, how should I say, but like, you're putting yourself out there a lot in a sort of a more public platform. And I don't really do that. And I also, like, for a long time I didn't do it just because I have this other business and my staff and all this stuff to look after.
mhm.
And spreading myself, you know, too thin was not really, it was not advisable. Um,
Yes,
but now, like, for example, right now, like, I have lots of time, like,
yes,
until summer comes, and then depends on if there's a festival season or not. And also, generally speaking, I'm kind of able to now create more time that can be focused on supporting others, and but what I'm noticing too is that, what should I say? Like, there's different type of support people need at a different time, and
yes,
and also from different beings, and also maybe in a different way that they can receive at any given time and in and place in their suffering, let's say.
yeah,
And and there is lots and lots of available resources, but most people that I talk to, when they end up talking to me, they have not accessed any of those resources,
yes,
or they talk to me because when they finally accessed a resource, they were disappointed, maybe, or
yes. So when you're speaking, what's coming from me right now is that actually trusting, that everything is unfolding as it should, as it needs to. You know, and that the people who need to come and spend time with you will show up to spend time with you.
yeah,
And as long as we, I think, have a yes to be
yeah,
there
yeah,
and
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
listen.
I don't feel like I need to go search people.
No, and
You know,
and you've always had a yes.
yes,
Uh,
always. Yeah,
uh,
yeah. And to because I see also where it can come from to want to help people.
yes.
Like, if I want to help you, David, I've already said that you need help, and
Yeah.
that you're not blessed to have your weight lifted off of you without my help. And it already creates a certain preposition of, but if you say to me, Adrian, I could use some help, or I need some clearer seeing, then I know, or we just have a chat, and then something comes up and you say, oh, talking of that, it reminds me like, hey, I'd like your view on that or your point of view on that. And then if it arises like that, then it's a whole different
Yes,
dynamic.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're not out peddling.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
peddling something that
you're
in order
available
to be
though.
peddled, I have to declare someone into a certain state that also they may not be, and they may not benefit particularly from me anyways.
Yes.
So kind of staying clear on that.
Yeah,
It-
I hear
you know,
you. Yeah. And I think that I think we nailed it, as long as we're living in the yes, we're available. And
yeah,
I find myself with a little more driven these days, a lot more time, and yet I don't know who's going to show up. That's not my business,
yeah, yeah,
you know, and I'm not out looking for people to help. The phone rings, it's
right,
just not my business, and that's a beautiful place to be. It's like, there is um, a universal intelligence, a God, or it's happening, and we're, you know, I don't need to try to understand it.
yeah, exactly. And you know, of course, there is like this desire to help, and the desire to be of support and all of that. But like, and this used to be very confusing to me because I was like, oh no, particularly coming from a Hawkins perspective, and where you're kind of climbing this mountain of levels of consciousness, which to me in a way is the weakest aspect of Dr. Hawkins' teachings. It's useful, but it also is a strong misleading.
Can be a pitfall. Yeah.
It could be a very strong pitfall for people because it speaks too much to the competitive nature of the human psychological
Yes.
mind,
Yeah.
the achiever, to
Yeah.
achieve. I know exactly what the mountain is and how to get to the top, and I want
And
to
I
be
got to make 540 before I leave the planet.
things like that, and and kind of not really reflecting what that desire even means, you
Yeah.
know, and so on, uh, so that's kind of far from being surrendered, and
Yeah.
but that desire then can shine light upon that which is not 540, you
Yes.
know. And for those people who don't know, it's like the level of unconditional love, So something says, "Oh, I want to be the one unconditionally loving," Okay, well, then to be the one unconditionally loving, then you be unconditional loving, and and how you get there is it's definitely no different than what you are right now.
Yes.
It's not it's not like becoming an engineer and having 4 years of university to become one, and
Mhm.
you definitely know you're not one before you're one.
The beautiful thing about the 12-step program is that in the process is the 12th step, which is that, we come, it's all about service. It really is. Every step points towards, how can I be of service? How can I, the third step prayer is a prayer it's based in service. It's all, you know, points towards that. And you know, that's a beautiful gift for those of us who have been so grossly self-centered
Right,
that we were collapsing in on ourselves and taking our own lives, you
right,
know, um, to expand to a place where it's no longer what's in it for me, but how can I serve, and
right,
and and that is uplifting all by itself. It's just like,
right,
okay, where's and leaving the I don't need to work the details of the service. It just shows up, you know,
right.
just shows up. There's two men have just come on the call because I have Facebook open and
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
I can see who's
Right,
come on. And one of them is my buddy from an island in the Pacific, way south. They call it a continent, but it's just a big island,
right,
Australia.
right.
And hey, Mel, nice to see you. And then my buddy from Maui.
Oh,
uh,
wow, a very international call.
another
Island call.
island in the Pacific.
And we're on Turtle Island, so there we go. We're all on an island.
And they've come on. I don't, on our Facebook side of things. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that you're having a good year, that you're filling a need with the masks that you guys are making. You're creating employment, locally, and what have you been doing? Any social at all? You getting out? Uh, no,
Oh,
Yeah, no girlfriends?
no,
No, no, me neither. It's like,
no, I'm not like, I mean, for me, it's kind of like looking after the business that has really posed some extraordinary new challenges, and it's
yes,
a lot of fun. I like change. I like new challenges. Um, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been some trepidation as well, but nothing too bad, more just from a logistical perspective. And um and now really what's happening is that January, I'm like, oh, I'm finally having time again to just, like today, Friday, 4 o'clock, we're having this meeting. And
yes.
it's really nice. I'm not saying to you, no, I gotta go to my store, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. So that kind of freedom I'm really enjoying. And also then those beings that I talk to, really having the time to support them and help them,
Be
and
with them, yeah.
present with them.
Do you have a sense? My sense often is that nothing's missing. I, it just, do you know what I mean? I don't feel,
That
um,
idea doesn't arise in me.
pardon me?
That idea doesn't arise in me.
Yeah, so maybe there's
Like
that.
that something is missing. That doesn't arise in me.
No, so no, I feel nothing that, with me as well. I spent so much of my life trying to, struggling, and it's just gone. There's nothing. It feels like nothing's missing. Matter of fact, I have to kind of remind myself to do things. I mean,
I
you're
see. Yeah.
you're in business, so
But you're comparing this to a time when always something seemed to be missing and you're chasing after it.
yes, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. No. No. No.
You're a little dark there. When you
Yes.
sat back, you came
What
out of
happens is that being being that it is
getting dark outside.
getting dark outside now, my living room becomes dark. So I'm
Yeah.
going closer to window, and but that doesn't help. So maybe uh, artificial light source might be useful.
Ah,
Haha.
turn
There we
the light on. Yes,
go. Better. Hey?
some of the, uh, like my buddy in Australia he's getting a lot more sunlight in this time of year, and
Right. Of course. Yeah.
right on.
Yeah. So in terms of is there anything missing piece? And I don't by any means say that, or think that if something was to feel like it's missing, that you know that's to be dismissed.
No,
um, but I think if things keep being missing, then it sure um, it sure hampers the experience. No, it's like then it becomes like a longing. And actually, um, someone I'm talking to a bit now, you know, what keeps coming up is this longing, and it's tremendous suffering.
hmm,
Like that, and that's like longing really is the feeling of that's missing, and if
yes,
only I had that, I would be happy. Or the idea is there that I could be happy, or I could be happy.
yes,
and and especially this time of year, and especially when you spend a lot of time by yourself, um, the lack of socializing or whatever you've been enjoying as an external activity that you cannot partake in, m- can definitely bring up this sense of like, oh, I'm missing that.
mhm,
And I think there's a light missing it is another thing than a longing for it.
Mhm.
Missing it is more like the thought comes to it. It's like, oh yeah, gosh, I'd love to go for sushi right now. Oh, can't do sushi. It's okay. Like this.
Yeah.
It's like just a temporary surge of, oh yeah, that'd be nice. Oh, can't do, versus like, oh, can't do sushi. I wish COVID wasn't happening. I wish I had more friends to go to sushi with, things like this. And then suddenly, this avalanche of longing and
Sure.
discontent arises.
Yeah, we get on the train,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
so
And
that
that's
that
about
seems
some
to be gone.
future thing. It's because in the moment, it's like, do I really need sushi right now? Well, before I had the thought of having sushi, I was totally fine. And then comes the thought, and it seeds the seed of discontent, and it can grow
Discontent.
and die again.
Mhm,
Yeah. So when you're saying, oh, I'm not missing anything, it's
mhm.
like, of course, some things could be appreciated right now if they were present.
Yes,
That's not a denial of that. It's just, but also without it, it's also good.
it's all good.
Like I just have to have my coffee. I say it's not totally true. But I started to do. I don't like talking about this, so I don't. But because I've anyway, but I have to say I started with the keto diet.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't like talking about it because it seems so extreme to me.
so are you doing, in the morning, your MCT oil in the coffee and a little turmeric and like I blend my coffee with turmeric and
I should add turmeric. I just take turmeric in capsule form, but I could just add it to the coffee.
I put it in the coffee, butter, MCT oil, lion's mane,
Oh,
mushroom,
that too. Mine's lion's mane. Yeah, I heard of that too.
and I blend it every morning. That's my coffee. So I was over at the Light Cellar the other day and sharing with one of the staff, and she said, "Well, so you're not drinking coffee? Coffee's just the carrier. You're getting. It's all about the butter, the MCT oil, and but the whole thing for me again is it's just like when you take this in the coffee, um, we're less hungry. It actually the good oils are good and they go right to the brain as well. And,
Right.
so yeah, I'm not as keto for sure, but sometimes I'll do 14 to 16 hours between eating.
Right.
You know, um, are you doing that?
Yeah. Intermittent. They call it intermittent fasting.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so basically, do you want to hear about it or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, like I'm not, you can see I have a bit of an aversion to talk about it because I find that when I've been hearing from people, they always seem so extreme to me.
Yes.
I know that I'm not being extreme about it. My own experience isn't extreme about it. It's just
Mhm.
more, following kind of the steps. And one approach that I had to take it because I noticed that I started to have more abdominal fat. I was gaining some weight, also
Yes.
not having festivals.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
I can relate.
yes. And so up to a point that was okay with me, but then I was like, but this not. And it doesn't look like it's going to reverse, by itself. But I don't want to do what it takes to reverse it either. I mean, like I had to just be honest with myself. I'm like, I like my food, I like my chocolate, I like my carbs and all that stuff. That
Yeah.
was my attitude. But then I was like, but this approach doesn't work. So because I know exactly where it's headed.
Hmm.
I saw my dad before me and so on, and I saw where it headed with him. And yet I did not feel like I could identify with any of the people who were presenting online about, get this heart body and get your abs and all that
Yep.
stuff. And the counting of all these ingredients and, like developing a lifestyle that revolves around food. I cannot see it.
No, but have you read David Asprey?
No.
He's the Bulletproof Coffee guy.
Oh, yes. I was going to look him up this morning, actually.
Yeah. And
I remember
his book,
reading him.
he's got two books. One's called Headstrong,
Yeah.
which read a couple of times because, you know, I'm not also, you know, I can't plan my meals. I'm terrible at that, you know,
Right.
whole thing, you know, but listening to his book a couple of times has just helped it to me to assimilate a little bit of information about, you know, healthier living, you know, like he has the blue light glasses, the
Right.
blue light blocker glasses that he, you know, and he says you put those on it a couple hours before bed and it starts to get the melatonin moving, you know, because if you're like me sitting in front of the screen often. And he has some great tips, and he just finished his next book called Fasting. Something it's a fasting book, and where he goes deep into his research on different types of fast, 2-day fast, 4-day fast, whatever, and water fast or lemon fast, or and I haven't read it, but I will, you know, because he's a great researcher. You know, he's a science guy. You know, he's not a passionate, you know, he's not selling a dream. His is all research, kind of science based.
Right. Yeah. So when I hear something like that, I have, and not to take away from your interest in it, okay, just a reflection of. So for me, when I hear that kind of thing, I'm totally turned off. Okay, because it doesn't sound sustainable to me.
Well, it
So
is.
what if I do 3 water fasts a year? You know, what's happening the rest of the time, you know?
Yeah,
Because I know my patterns, you know, and then I
yeah,
won't do the water fast because it won't be the right time to do it, you know? Because then I imagine an incredible amount of suffering that comes from it. Yeah. And then I definitely don't want to do it. Or then that is being overcome by extreme willpower, which I don't have either. Okay. So this is what I mean. So this is why this kind of stuff is too extreme for me, and I don't even like to talk about it.
yeah,
But I've kind of, so what I did, so I was like, knowing this, then how come I'm doing keto right now and intermittent fasting? Well, because before what I had done was the wild rose cleanse
yes,
for already some years, and I would do it the odd time. And what
yes,
I noticed was it was always the first 4 or 5 days that were the hardest. And then when my blood sugar stabilized, I could actually do quite well with not eating for a long time.
yeah,
And so when I heard first about this intermittent fasting, the first thought I had to myself is like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do this, because I know my cravings. I know my night eating, you know, after, 11 o'clock at night, I'm getting snacky, and my mind is not a weight losing mind at 11 p.m. It is more of a, let's,
okay. I'm gonna start texting you at 11. Okay, no snacks tonight.
right. My mind is more like it defers tomorrow. It says like, yeah, tomorrow night I won't eat at night, but tonight I'm hungry. And if I'm hungry, it must mean I need some food.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know that feeling?
I know it very well.
Yes.
Absolutely, I
And
know it.
then you can observe the mind and see how it rationalizes it, no?
Yeah,
And for me to have this, and this is maybe 12 step here, for me to have the delusion that I can overpower this mind that is talking so convincingly to me at 11 p.m. is not, it's 0 to none.
hmm
So I need something that allows me to be at some level of comfort at 11 p.m. And so then the only logical way was that if I stopped using, or my body stopped using carbohydrates as fuels, because of what it does to insulin, and then insulin spike and insulin drop. And then I noticed this fall, I noticed strong cravings, which I never really had before in my life, but they were sick. They were like, like stuff my face kind of cravings. Like, I was like, oh, what's that all about?
yeah,
And then I learned about insulin resistance and all of that stuff. And then I was like, oh, so now so I'll do this keto, and I live so good on keto, it's ridiculous. It's kind of simplified my cooking because there's only so many things you can eat, but it's not, but at least I can eat really good stuff, like, including like mayonnaise, like that. So,
mhm.
which makes all the vegetables that much better, and so on. So, because I don't really like vegetables that much.
Yes,
And,
good for
you know,
you.
and then seeing the goodness that comes from cruciferous vegetables, for example, and
What's
and
cruciferous
it's
vegetables?
like broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I think radishes are included in it. Yeah, those are the
Right.
big ones I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then I eat those knowing they're like my medicine, and then I
I'm on
make
the I'm on the broccoli too.
yeah. And I actually like broccoli.
Yeah.
I don't know why it has such a bad rap, but I like it more
Broccoli,
than some others.
kale,
Hmm?
broccoli and kale.
And
I,
kale, yeah. I
you
keep
know,
forgetting about eating kale for some reason.
I'm
I
eating
like it.
more salads.
Yeah, salads. Like I feel
Yeah.
like a rabbit, then eat a salad and you chew forever, No, but what to do? It's just like looking after myself, looking after
So
my body.
I'd like to tell you what I think you could do, but I'm telling you only from uh,
You're not telling me because you froze up. Okay.
and the thought comes or the craving comes. Oh, I think we lost our internet connection.
Yeah, you got frozen up for a moment there.
Yeah. So the craving comes, or to practice being present with that, to really be present, to really, whether it's through prayer, which can bring us into the moment, or but it there has to be some will, I think, where we kind of got to the end of it, where we said, okay, I'm done with that. How do I get past it? How do I get free of that?
Yeah. But
And
where I'm attacking is before the cravings arise.
yes,
Like through the deeply established pattern of eating that which later will create cravings,
yes,
which is
okay.
high sugar, which then, boosts up my
So the
insulin.
keto's helping with that.
Yeah, because that whole up and down of the insulin cycle is kind of
Yes,
flattened out. And so now my cravings, even though some craving is there, is more habitual. It's more
yes,
it's more like oh, I love chocolate, fine, but it doesn't have the deeper layer of the craving that says I gotta have chocolate, and
yeah.
I
Mine's for
stop
popcorn.
again, huh? What's that?
Mine's for popcorn.
Oh,
Popcorn.
popcorn, yeah. So
A little.
popcorn, again, it seems so innocent, no?
I know, but it's total carbohydrate, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Uh,
and also if it's GMO corn and so on. I never knew, like I always thought these people that don't like GMO are kind of over the top. What's wrong
I've
if
been
you
buying my corn from the light cellar,
oh good.
uh,
So
and and
non-GMO
uh,
corn. Yeah.
and so I'm not doing the microwave bags anymore.
Oh yeah, that would be loaded with stuff, I'm sure.
I
Yeah,
know. But I do it, and I put butter on it,
right,
and
nice.
I put molasses in the butter. So I heat my butter and molasses, and put it on, and a little garlic powder,
Nice.
and um, and then a little sea salt, and it's very nice. But my tendency is to do that at about 11 o'clock at night,
Right.
and
Yeah, and then
and
you have a very short fasting period.
well, I don't usually eat till 1 or 2
Right.
uh, the next
They
day.
say for people over 60, let's say, that your fasting period should be like 20 hours
Oh, really?
or 16 hours for sure. Yeah. Because so I did not, and I was like, why fasting? What's the big deal? But
Mhm.
apparently a process called macrophagy or phagy or something like that
Yes.
starts to happen the longer you fast, meaning the body can now start cleaning up and
Yeah.
also heal, let's say, your gut.
Yes.
Or heal all the villi in your gut, which then help you absorb and if especially if you have some digestive stuff going on, maybe if you have leaky gut syndrome, they call that, um, where toxins basically make it to your bloodstream because your intestines are not in prime condition, which may happen through your inflammations, through your like these. I'm not an expert on it by any standards or means. I'm just
No.
piecing this information together as I'm listening to, actually it's Dr. Berg. Dr. Eric Berg. Right, he's a really down to earth kind of guy that I really like to listen to. And who kind of has inspired me. And
I
yeah.
interviewed a lady yesterday, Jen Mortimer.
Oh,
Do you know Jen? And Jen's doing this Sunday a 3-hour health seminar, free.
right,
And then she does a 10-week thing after that. And her whole thing is there's in her 3 hours is a lot of tips around diet, and she's kind of made a study of it. She's really it's been her passion for quite a long time.
right.
Healthy living, so I'm kind of like you. I have a cursory uh, interest, although
Right. I have a cursory interest, and I only want to go along with something that does not, where I don't have to make it my primary objective.
yes,
You
yeah,
understand? Because a lot of the beings that inspire me to it seem
yes,
to have made it a primary objective.
yeah.
And
It's become a lifestyle for folks. And
yeah, like,
yeah,
and this is somewhat of a lifestyle. That this keto thing is a lifestyle in a way, but at
yeah,
least it's a lifestyle that to me fits into my life. So
yeah.
yeah,
Good. Well, I'm
but it
glad
cannot
you're
fit
doing.
into someone else's.
You
You know,
felt you feel you have more energy?
yeah, my energy is good, and I'm that one of the big things is that I always had trouble drinking enough water.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And one of the reasons was because I said I'm never thirsty. Or
Yes.
would be, and now you're drinking water, which is good. And so I'm not thirsty, and I don't really like the taste of water.
Hmm.
Now I do love the taste of water when I'm thirsty,
Hmm.
um, but when I'm not thirsty, I don't like the taste of water, and so I feel no impetus to drink, and I don't have the discipline to just make myself or the attention. I
So
forget.
Jen said yesterday that if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Right. So, but also, you may not feel your thirst even when you're
That's right.
dehydrated.
Yeah, she said by the time you get thirsty, it's already too late. She's talking about making a habit. One of my brothers, Terry, fills up.
This is what I hear all the time, David, and I'm telling you, if she told me this, I would have to say this did not work for me.
I know. Well, what
So,
my brother Terry does, he fills up 3.5 liter pop bottles
yeah,
every night, or I don't know if they're pop bottles, what,
yeah,
3.5 liters, and he puts them in the fridge because he likes his water cold. And so he's already determined that he's going to drink those three
right,
every day.
right,
And so he's drinking, like over 4 liters of water.
yeah.
Uh,
That
uh,
sounds like a nightmare to me of my former self. Okay. Now, former self, I don't mean like I've changed
yeah,
or anything, but I'm telling you, when you're thirsty or when you have a connection to the sense of thirst,
yeah,
this proposition sounds a lot less threatening.
yeah.
And I've been doing keto, my thirst has come back.
Oh, has it?
Yes. And so
Huh?
now when now that I saw you drink water, I want to go run into the kitchen and grab. Also, I have it prepared. I want to drink that. And I've been
Yeah,
managing to drink, amongst coffee, beside the coffees that I drink, the 2 coffees or whatever, or one, that I also drink 2 liters of water a day now.
yeah.
Or
I have
sometimes more.
2 coffees a day.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, and again, like like what I don't like about the healthy food culture is that there is a sense of shame to admit that you have 2 coffee a day. Bullshit, to be honest. That should never be your shame.
No, it's not. I think I like that I have 2 coffees a day.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
yeah,
And
I have
I
no shame
encourage
around.
everyone who would like it too.
Yeah,
Now, if
I might
coffee,
have a little shame around not drinking enough water.
I don't.
I'm just thinking maybe there's a little there. I'll have to look more closely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because as soon as that moves into the realm of shame, now
Yeah.
it becomes the motivation becomes to not feel shame,
Yes.
rather than a desire to
Take good care of myself.
and yeah, taking care of myself and maybe figuring out why I'm so far away from doing that. and
Yeah.
why, maybe for me, often instead of feeling the thirst, I would just interpret it as hunger.
Okay.
And
And
so,
so instead of drinking water, you're eating
yeah,
shit. Yeah. Whatever it is that you love. You know what? We've been talking for almost an hour and a half.
that's right. So, holler.
We've covered, lots.
We didn't talk about llamas, but we can do that some other time.
Llamas.
Well, other than that, we talked pretty much about everything.
Well, we'll save llamas for
Perfect.
our next chat.
Sounds good.
Thank you for taking the time to.
Well, thank you as well.
Yeah,
I'm glad that we're on a stream of some sort most of the time. So sorry if I didn't behave. Just kidding.
you did. You were very behave. You were great. I never expect you to behave though.
Okay. Pressure's off. I'm glad.
And so I'm gonna put your link on for your Etsy if you'll send it to me.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll kind of doctor this up a little bit on YouTube, and I'll send you the copy, even though you're not going to post it anywhere.
Okay.
And
I mean, even though I won't post it, I'll feel honored.
you'll watch it or something.
No, I won't. I was already here. Why would I watch it again?
I know. I never watch them either. Like never, which makes it hard to write content for them because, part of this thing is to write a little bit of a content so that YouTube, the algorithms find it,
Oh, I see. So you have to kind of do it afterwards because otherwise you might forget.
Or listen to it a bit to write, and I find that difficult. So I'm looking for somebody to do a little writing for me.
Yeah, that would be handy. I think you should get someone
I
to
want to give them Buddha statues because that's
yeah.
yeah.
So anyone who's listening, David is looking for someone who does these little. If you have some
Buddha statues and singing bowls and salt lamps,
you'll get all the goodies in return. Yeah, use it for trades. I think that's perfect, and I'm sure someone would benefit from doing it.
Yeah,
because then they can listen to your chats with beings, and they can take. Like I'm transcribing right now a talk of one of my spiritual teachers, just because he has it in French, and then it's subtitled, and I'd like to have it just visually in front of me, like that. And so I'm transcribing it, and it's a very intimate process to transcribe.
So the subtitles are in English or in French?
Yeah, English, yeah. And his talk is in French, and my French isn't that great. Like then I have to pay attention too much to trying to translate what he's saying rather than really looking at what he's pointing to.
Yes. Yeah. Nice. Okay, my friend, I'm going to run.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you too. Talk to you soon, David.
We will talk soon.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.